everyone, I'm Sophie Ash, and here today we have Dr. Ted Vickey. He's the founder and CEO of FitWell. He helps the fitness industry improve health one app at a time. Hi Ted, how are you?
Sophie, how are you? Doing great.
Good. I'm so glad that you took the time to be with us today. For people who aren't familiar with yourself and your company, can you talk a little bit about your background and your specialty and what it is that you do in the health field?
I've been in the corporate health and fitness industry for almost 30 years. And my first client was the White House. So I had the privilege of serving under Presidents Clinton and Bush and making sure that they and their staff lived as healthy as they could. I grew that consulting company with other corporations and other government agencies, and in 2008 decided it was time to live my bucket list. So I sold the company, sold my house, and I moved to Ireland, where I pursued a master's degree, not because I needed it, but because I wanted it, in international business and entrepreneurship. And then the Irish government approached me and asked if I'd be interested in a PhD. And I thought, 3 more years in Ireland, 3 more years of golfing, I'll do it. So I have a PhD in engineering and informatics. So what I did was created a classification system looking at tweets. So I collected 3 million tweets, and I could predict a person's fitness level better than the federal government could based on their tweets.
Wow.
And now I'm a professor in San Diego, and I consult with corporations on how to be disruptive when it comes to health technologies. In fact, I've coined the term disruptive health technologies. Now, some people think disruptive is a bad word. I see it as a good word. Disruption is just the act of preventing something from continuing as usual. So what I'm trying to do is to show that there are ways that we can be disruptive, and COVID-19 has definitely disrupted a lot of lives and a lot of different industries.
Yes, absolutely. And that's something that I would love to talk more with you about. Sorry, I'm just having some technical difficulty with my light. If I'm flashing, sorry about that. So what kind of challenges are people facing at the moment? And you know, in real life, what does that look like in terms of the struggles that people are facing?
In real life, there is a big challenge in the fitness industry right now. People aren't going to gyms. And I think that it will have a dramatic impact on how the industry moves forward. Now, for years, we've been talking about the fitness industry and the need for the industry to adopt technologies. And it's taken a while. If you think about it, when Fitbit came in and when the Apple Watch showed up, that is when the fitness industry kind of took notice and said, we need to partner with these folks or else they're going to really make some noise in the industry. And they have. So what I'm seeing is that a lot of people are using the types of technology, their Apple Watch, their Fitbit, the apps on their phone, to continue or to start or to modify the different exercise programs that they were doing and changing it to what they can do through COVID. So there are a lot of different people that are trying new technologies. Even some of the traditional fitness centers are allowing their apps to be used for free. They're doing Zoom classes every day at the same time that they would at the club. And it's really shown that the industry is ripe for disruption and ripe for a new method of business.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. And I've seen so many companies moving online, and there was a bit of an initial panic as to how do we catch up with this technology? How do we bring this to people's homes? We've never really thought we'd have to do this before. But I guess you were really ahead of the game in that regard because you'd already studied it and you'd been implementing it with your networks. So let's talk a bit about the app that you have and what it does. And, you know, we can start to discuss some of the practical solutions for what people are facing right.
Well, one of the challenges that we've seen in the industry is that while we're collecting a lot of data through these apps and wearables, the data is in silos, meaning my Fitbit data can't talk to my Apple data, can't talk to my Withings data, and all of the information that's coming in. So now, it's my belief that data is the new oil. If you have the data, you can then find ways to improve a person's health and make it fun at the same time. So I'll give you an example. When I was at the White House, if a member came and said, you know, I don't feel like working out today, well, I would probably come up with some answer, and it may be right, it may not be. But now, because I have all of the data, I can say, look, last night at 7 p.m., you had a Starbucks. And based on your DNA, we know that you have a hard time processing caffeine. And if you look at your sleep data, you took longer to fall asleep, you weren't restful during your sleep, and you got up a little late, and your resting heart rate variability is not where we want it to be. So that is why you don't feel like exercising today. Now, that might be an extreme example, but that is showing the way that we can use this technology to help our clients live healthier lives.
Wow. So how have you been able to kind of merge those data streams? Are you partnering with other companies that collect that data, or have you found a way to monitor or I mean, when it comes to things like genetics, obviously once you've sequenced your genome, you don't have to keep re-sequencing it, but there are new ways of interpreting those data sets. So how does it work? How have you been able to incorporate all of these different factors?
Well, a lot of these technologies have the ability where one can import their data. A great example is Apple Health. So I use Apple Health, and I have all my devices connected to it, and it pulls in all of my data. Well, that's a good view for me as an individual. But as a health coach or a personal trainer, if I wanted to see my client's data, I have to log into every single account. So what we're trying to do is to find a way to have personal trainers and health coaches be able to look at all of their clients' data. I kind of picture, you know, sitting on New York Stock Exchange, and there's a financial advisor and looking at the big screen and different colors. And I think that it's possible to have a system where if I know that Sophie, I'm working with you and your goal is to take 10,000 steps a day, and I'm monitoring that from afar, and I notice that you are taking the number of steps that you want to, then you're colored green, and I don't have to really reach out to you as much as I may. Now, if I notice that you're dropping off, then your code turns to a yellow, which means a personal trainer or health coach probably needs to reach out to a person and find out if everything's okay, if they want to change how they're exercising, whatever. And then if you're not doing anything, it turns to red. So what we're doing is trying to find ways and trying to find different engagement points. So the trainer can deal with a lot more different people during the day, and the individual is getting the time and the resources necessary to address a specific problem that that person might be having. So it's kind of a technology that is still in production. We've got a couple of really alpha sessions that are going on now, but the ability to pull in all that information is really what allows us to do all this.
And so this is something that's more geared towards fitness coaches and professionals who would have a client base that they would then use this as a tool to support their clients.
Exactly. So it really doesn't matter what fitness device the individual uses, but what we're doing is pulling in all of that information and having a good picture of a person's overall wellness. So it could be nutrition, it could be physical activity, it could be mindfulness, it could be stress reduction. So we're not creating any new hardware. we're using what's existing and we're just pulling in the data. Now, there's a lot of different tools that are out there that we could use. Here's an example. So I was feeling a little bit under the weather when COVID started, and I started to monitor my temperature, and I used a smart thermometer called a Kinsa. And they were able to very quickly change their app to make it more COVID-19 specific. And as an individual, I could see my temperature rise, and I was over 100, so I knew that I probably need to go see my physician. And I could see all of that data from my history. What the company can do is they were actually able to track the progression of the flu across the country, because they had thousands and thousands and thousands of people taking their temperature with the smart thermometer connected to the smartphone, which was GPS located. So they knew exactly that I was in San Diego taking my temperature on this day and time, and the temperature was this. So they were able to predict where the flu was going, which I think is fascinating when you think of it from a data perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. So if an individual who's watching this is at home and they want to be more aware of their activity and they want to start collecting more data, or maybe they're already using some kind of data collection or even several of them, but they're not integrated, could they start using the app? How would they start trying to integrate this? Or would they need to find a coach or a trainer to basically facilitate that process?
An individual doesn't need to have a coach or a trainer, and I kind of equate it back to the financial industry. There are people that are out there that do their own stocks and trades and take care of their own investment portfolios, but there are also people that hire financial planners to do the same thing. So I see the same thing with fitness trainers and health coaches, that it is have the ability to have somebody look at all the data from a third-party view and to be able to prescribe the exercise needed based on the data. So our app is currently in development. So one of the things that a person could do in the meantime is both Apple and Google have apps in which a person can pull all of their data in. It's very easy. Apple Health is the one that I use. And I just go into the app and I say, I've got this scale. I use this app for sleep. I use this app to track my steps. And it pulls in all the data. Now, Apple Health really isn't from a user interface. It's just really a repository. You'll see all of your data. But what they did was they allowed it then to have these other companies like ours pull that data and make it look pretty and give a report and use the data in a way that's valuable to the individual. So that's one way that I think would be. And the thing that I'm seeing now is a lot more monitoring of sleep. Sleep is one of those areas of wellness where, for whatever reason, we haven't really been very good as an industry to follow it. And I've noticed myself that I'm falling asleep later in the day. I am actually having a deeper sleep, and because I don't have to get up, at the crack of dawn, I'm sleeping a little bit longer, and my quality of sleep seems to be going up. So maybe in some sort of way, COVID for me and my sleep habits have been a good thing. But that's an example of what I'm seeing when it comes to what people are tracking a little bit more of, and that's sleep.
And as someone who personally, I have never really tracked many things. I mean, in the past, I've had a pedometer, or I have tracked my sleep for a couple of weeks, and then I've kind of lost interest in it. Or sometimes I track the number of workouts that I do. How can you sort of get into the routine of wanting to track and recognizing the value of the data that you're collecting and being able to see it more cohesively as something that can be useful to kind of reevaluate the efforts that you're taking and trying to improve things as opposed to just tracking it for the sake of tracking it?
Well, you raise a good point. If I open up my Apple Health, it says that I've taken 17 million steps since 2007. So what?
Yeah.
What we're now seeing in the industry is the ability for somebody like a health coach or a personal trainer to take that data and to make meaningful sense out of it. Now, you might just be tracking steps and you're like, oh, great, so I took 10,000 steps a day. But what a trainer or health coach can do is they can look at the history, they can see patterns. And the industry is going through now and teaching folks folks being in the industry, how to monitor, how to interpret this data. So that's one specific line item. But then if you add in these other lines coming in, and you add on top of it the nutrition, their stress of the person, the heart rate of the person, the temperature even, then you have a nice cohesive picture of the health of the person. We haven't even talked about how you can take then this data and give it to your physician, which really is the next phase of all of this. But to go back to your original question was, how can a person use the wearables a little bit more? One of the nice things is that these apps now have made it very, very easy to be running in the background. So I don't know if many people know this, but there is a step tracker on your iPhone. So as long as you have your iPhone with you in your pocket and you're walking around, it is collecting data on you. The Apple Watch that I wear, I don't have to turn anything on when I go to bed. It knows when I get into bed, it knows when I fall asleep, and it knows when I wake up. So I'm not doing anything extra. Now, when I go out for an exercise, I will probably wear a heart rate monitor on the chest to allow me to get even more specific when it comes to heart rate data. The heart rate pulled off of the wrist from the Apple Watch or the Fitbit, it's good, but I like having a chest strap to give a little bit more information. And then from there, having that data, color coding that to make sure that I'm reaching the proper zones that I want to exercise in is the next phase of how you as an individual, when you're out exercising, can say, am I doing the most effective workout that I can based on my heart rate? Well, a trainer or a health coach can say, this is what percentage we want you to exercise at. You look at your app, it's either red, it's too high, it's yellow, you're getting kind of close to being high, or it's green, you're in the right zone. So that's the exciting part about all the things that I'm looking at, is that it's like a big puzzle, and all the different data points are coming into this puzzle, and we're making a nice big picture of the health of a person. And we're really at the start of what it is. I mentioned earlier the DNA. I think that being able to pull some of that data in, now if you could pull in some information about a person's health history, even perhaps some of the medications that they're on, we're creating this potential partnership between your physician and the health and fitness industry. The physician doesn't have time to go over all this data, but they can give a person a health coach or a personal trainer to interpret the data, to then prescribe exercise and wellness to the client, and then report back to the physician. That's where we're going with it all.
I really love that not only are you maximizing what you're able to learn from what you're doing every day anyway, and you're increasing the efficiency of your workout, because who really knows if what they're doing is effective unless they are tracking it, unless they have actual goals and parameters. But I also love that it's encouraging collaboration between healthcare professionals, because like you said, your doctor doesn't have time to go through huge data sets or analyze things. And also their specialty is not in fitness or nutrition or, genetics. So it would make sense to have a kind of team of people helping you with each of those areas. Like, for example, I used to be a dietitian, so I would often look at food diaries and I would be able to see patterns and easily be able to say, oh, this is in line with our goals, this isn't. But unless you've had that training and experience in doing that, and you're looking at it yourself, it can be quite challenging. But yeah, to be able to integrate the healthcare professionals and people within the different niches, but then also just taking responsibility for that yourself and recognizing the value in that, I think it's very, very insightful. I've definitely learned a lot. I'm sure that people who have listened have learned a lot. Thank you so much. We've run out of time, but I mean, we could have talked for hours. Thank you so much, Ted.